she's been caught lying. I mean, that's really the thing. Like, the thing about the breastfeeding is a great example. Like, he walked into my trailer and me breastfeeding, and then his side produced the text message of her being like, yeah, you can come to my trailer. FYI, I'm breastfeeding, but it's fine.
And by the way, Blake is hurting other women. Every time someone this high profile lies about you set the rest of real victims back. So her.
Yeah.
Her.
So I just think she's in trouble. That all she's left with is that sad little piece of her claim.
Megyn Kelly is criticizing Blake Lively, Music, publicly after a federal judge dismissed 10 significant claims the actress had filed against Justin Baldoni in recent court ruling update.
She had wrested control of his movie from him. She had made him go downstairs in the basement for the premiere of his movie. She had been threatening him. He understood full well that his career was probably done because she was such...
When the reports of these dismissed claims surfaced, Music across the internet, most people stayed silent. But Megyn Kelly, she used her platform and delivered one of the most honest and accurate takedowns of Blake Lively that anyone had ever seen.
She's got more humiliation waiting for her if they actually do go to court on this.
For months, fans had been told that Baldoni was a controlling director, Music, who used his influence to make Blake feel unsafe. But Kelly pointed out a very specific Music piece of evidence that showed the exact opposite was true.
Decided she wanted to take over and use the power of her fame and name and that of her husband, Ryan Reynolds, to bully Justin Baldoni into the fetal position.
Kelly was very clear to her entire Music audience that Blake Lively is not a nice person overall. According to her, the star leveraged her fame, Music, along with all the influence and money of her husband, Ryan Reynolds, to put Justin Baldoni into a tough spot. She likened Blake Lively's tactics with Amber Heard.
To Amber Heard, we all see...
If you understand anything about what went on with Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, then you will agree that this situation is almost similar. Just like Amber, Music, Heard, Blake Lively attempted to utilize the mainstream press to paint herself as a victim. But when you examine at the actual facts, it's the exact opposite. In truth, Blake Lively was controlling all the cards by running these PR campaigns from the shadows.
Massive disaster for her to unleash this PR campaign against him, which, by the way, Brian Friedman told us she started. She was the one through her PR agent who was dropping negative stories about Justin, not the other way around. She played with fire, and now she got burned. This isn't going to end well for you, Blake.
Kelly ensured certain everyone knew that Blake was the one who initiated the negative PR campaign against Baldoni. She wanted to take over the credits of the film to be in total control. And when Baldoni Music tried to stand his ground and do his job as the director, she chose to damage his reputation. Music, but here's the thing that really got viewers nodding along with Kelly. Music, she spoke about how completely tired the public is of being gaslit by wealthy Hollywood elites.
Everyone in this room, because you're here, I know this about you, you've been gaslit to high...
Megyn Kelly isn't finished revealing Blake Lively. Music, she also proceeded after her legal team's extreme actions during the lawsuit. And frankly, this part of the story, which reveals you precisely what kind of music person Blake Lively truly is when she doesn't get what she desires.
You know, social media influencers who are just starting out their online careers, who have no money and wouldn't know the first place to call to get a lawyer who could defend them on this kind of a subpoena that comes from these powerful law firms who then are trying to...
In an effort to suppress anyone who dared to speak the truth, Blake's legal team sent out multiple subpoenas to dozens of social media influencers. Music, many of these influencers were just ordinary people with tiny followings who made videos sharing their genuine opinions, Music on the case. They weren't journalists. They weren't spreading lies. They were just everyday folks talking Music about what they thought about the situation. And what did Blake Lively's team really demand from these people? So they wanted to know their sources. Music, they wanted access to their private communications.
Just the obvious infringement, just because you're a social media influencer doesn't mean that you don't have a First Amendment protection in dealing with sourcing, which she's trying to probe at. She wants to know people's sources and see communications with sources. Just the overreach and, again, the bullying nature of it is a fact.
As per Kelly, this was a plain attempt to intimidate ordinary people into keeping up using the threat of expensive legal costs. Most of these influencers couldn't afford a lawyer if their music life depended on it. And Blake Lively knew that. She was hoping that the fear of going bankrupt would be enough music to make them delete their videos and disappear. During a panel discussion, Kelly and his friends mocked this ridiculous behavior. Famous lawyer Mark Garagos, Music, called the move as petty as it gets.
It is so petty, to your point, and it's so driven by PR people and their kind of nonsense calculations that that to me is what's driving this, and not so much the.
But Blake Lively, she was pouring countless of dollars trying to suppress detractors instead of concentrating on her career. Music, Megyn Kelly firmly said that she does not believe Blake's claims that critics were being paid by Baldoni to speak negatively about her. She called those ideas unfounded and revealed there was zero evidence that Music, anyone was being paid to criticize the actress.
If they had a basis for it, someone gave them a tip.
Well, that's my question. They might have a basis.
As far as I know,
for it.
there's zero basis for this. There's zero good faith basis to allege this.
Fair enough.
You'd have to have a tip, like, hey, I heard that, Joe Schmo is getting paid by Baldoni for the, as far as I am aware, and I've been following the coverage of this, there's not even a hint of an allegation along those lines.
Megyn Kelly also pushed back strongly at the notion that she could be intimidated by Blake's attorneys. Music, she essentially told them to come try it if they wanted.
You know what? You're up against it now, sweetheart, because I will fight you. I will fight. I'll spend tons of money. It'll be my pleasure to spend tons of money fighting you and turning you into a loser.
Well, Megyn Kelly held Music, her ground, and proved the entire world that Blake Lively's intimidation tactics only apply on people who are too poor or too afraid to fight back. The moment someone has the resources and the courage to push back, the whole house of cards, Music, collapses apart. And that's exactly what happened when Judge Lewis rejected her false allegations.
Thursday, a federal judge dismissing most of the harassment claims tied to the 2024.
Now, if you really need to comprehend how Justin Baldoni was handled on the movie set, Music, you have to check out Ryan Reynolds' involvement in all of this. During the making of It Ends With Us, Ryan inserted himself into the production of the movie. Now, remember, he had no formal role in this film. Music, but that didn't prevent him from changing an important scene behind Baldoni's back. Justin found out about this later, and he said he would have gladly accepted revisions if they had just asked him. But that's not how Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds operate. Music, they don't ask. They don't discuss. They just take what they want because they know they can get away with it. And this right here shows you the total lack of respect they had for the actual director of this film. They treated Baldoni as some lower-level employee they could step on whenever they felt like it. He was supposed to be the one in charge creatively, but in reality, he had no power at all. Blake Lively later boasted in a magazine interview that there wasn't a single part of the movie she didn't touch or Music control. But what it really showed was that she had zero respect for the artistic process, Music, and zero respect for the people actually doing their jobs.
The work that I did on screen was easier than the work that I did off screen in this movie because of all that went into it. So I really look at I love a challenge though, and I'm just so proud of every bit of it. We went through a whole roller coaster of the human experience, and I'm very.
The true scope of Ryan Reynolds' participation came forward later during the court battle. It was Music disclosed through a major cover-up involving this unusual shell company named Vanzan. It was a dormant entity that had essentially been inactive for years. Music, and then abruptly, it was brought back to life to assist Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds target anyone who opposed them.
Vanzan Inc. is a corporation that was dissolved in 2013. If you guys see below there, it says dissolution date, January 2nd, 2013. More importantly, Vanzan Inc. is registered at this address, the address of Ryan Reynolds. They used Vanzan Inc. as a.
When Blake tried to find out the actual names of the people targeting her on the internet, she ran into serious problem. You cannot merely call up Twitter or YouTube and request they give you the personal information of random users. Courts safeguard the privacy of ordinary people for highly valid reasons. There exist laws regarding this matter. You require a legitimate legal reason to subpoena someone's private information. But Blake Lively did not respect laws. She did not value privacy. ICRA, she sought revenge on everyone who was criticizing her on the internet. So, she and Ryan Reynolds devised this dubious scheme using the shell company. They submitted a Jane Doe lawsuit through an anonymous person. Typically, when you submit a Jane Doe lawsuit, Music, a court has to sign off on it and make sure you're not just utilizing it as a fishing expedition to harm people. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds bypassed Music that step and filed their alleged lawsuit without getting the proper judicial review, which is normally required by law.
Pathetic that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds put together this BS lawsuit about how people are trying to manipulate public perception because their egos cannot even conceive of a world where anybody could dislike them, when in reality, they're the ones manipulating public perception by censoring people like me.
They used this fabricated lawsuit as a scheme, music, to issue illegal subpoenas to social media creators who were backing Justin Baldoni. They wanted to find out who they were and then come after them with the full weight of their expensive lawyers and all their money. But here's the point. There are a lot of very smart people out there who pay attention to this stuff. When people started figuring out this shady legal tactic, they exposed it publicly. The scheme started unfolding. And what did Ryan Reynolds do when his dirty actions were about to be exposed? He panicked, music, and suddenly registered himself as the CEO of Benzene. It was a desperate attempt to make it look like the company was fair and had proper governance. Music, the fact that Benzene was brought back from being an inactive dormant company just months before music filing this fabricated lawsuit proves everything. It proves that this was a highly planned, coordinated operation by a very rich couple trying to act like a Hollywood mafia. But the truth came to light anyway. It always does, eventually. They try to hide behind shell companies and fake lawsuits. But investigators found the paper trail.
Lively, throughout the course of this litigation, issued subpoenas to several social media platforms, but they sought the information of hundreds of people's private information without notice.
There's something that completely captures the disturbing mentality of Blake, music, Lively, and Ryan Reynolds, and it stems from a released text message that became known through the online as the Khaleesi text. In this private message, Blake compared herself directly, music, to Khaleesi, the famous mother of dragons from the television show Game of Thrones.
Ricochet was featured in the It Ends With Us trailer. Blake texted, "I have never felt more like Khaleesi. I have dragons, except my dragons are bred with Cersei herself." And Taylor goes, "I'm just picturing you muttering Dracarys," and then I fire off those texts to Austin.
She mentioned her husband Ryan Reynolds and her billionaire close friend Taylor Swift as her dragons. She actually, music, called them her tools. Some PR agents attempted to play this off as just a sweet joke between friends like, "Oh, you know, Taylor Swift is so powerful and famous." Music, it's funny to call her a dragon. But come on, nobody talks about their friends like that in private text messages unless they mean it.
That's what Blake Lively says in a text message, that she too has her dragons, Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift. That's, again, believed to be the other person, and that they are powerful advocates for her. And while it seems to be said like, I'm so lucky that I have them as great storytellers to help me rewrite this.
By calling Reynolds and Swift her dragons, Blake was revealing exactly how she treats all of her relationships. She doesn't view her husband as a partner. She doesn't view Taylor Swift, music, as a real friend. She sees them as tools that she can aim at her enemies and use to destroy anyone who crosses her.
Blake Lively has got a bit of a God complex. She's texting Justin Baldoni about how she sees herself as Khaleesi from Game of Thrones, mother of dragons.
The events occurring with Justin Baldoni is not just a one-time music event or some simple misunderstanding that got out of hand. When you look closely at Blake Lively's history in Hollywood over the last decade, music, it shows who she is. She has a long history of alienating her co-stars, fighting with other women, and making sure she always comes out on top while leaving others in the dirt. She first rose famous playing, music, the character Serena van der Woodsen on the hit teen show Gossip Girl. For years, rumors, music, have swirled in the entertainment magazines that she was a real-life mean girl who made the entire set miserable for everyone around her. The biggest and most noted rumor was her feud with Leighton Meester, who played the character Blair Waldorf. These two were supposed to be best friends on the show, but off-camera, they couldn't stand each other.
There's a Gossip Girl panel interview, and she makes a joke about Leighton Meester having been born in a cage, because Leighton Meester's mom was in prison when she gave birth to Leighton Meester. Oh, yeah.
Well, that's
like, wow.
Who else didn't want to act in a cage?
Well, some of them
required a cage.
Yeah. So they were not friends on Gossip.
While PR agents, music, tried to cover it up neatly by saying Blake was just an extrovert and Meester was a quiet introvert, insiders said that Blake was jealous and angry when Leighton Meester started getting a larger wardrobe budget and stronger storylines on the show. Think about music, how petty that is. Someone else getting slightly better clothes and more scenes made her so angry that she created a difficult environment. But Leighton Meester wasn't the only victim of Blake Lively's behavior. Penn Badgley, who played the character Dan Humphrey, Music, also had a bad relationship with her. Even though they dated for a while in real life, Music, just to make the TV studio happy, things ended very badly, like really badly. In an old interview, Blake admitted to putting the cast, Music, against Penn Badgley, on which a person commented saying, She was already Music, trying to manipulate and control matters on set even back then when she wasn't even actually famous yet, Music, with this role being her big breakout. If she was like this before Gossip Girl became Music a hit, then I wonder how much worse she got after getting famous so young and so quickly when the show took off.
Blake has not suffered anything like that, and we all know it. So she took her mother's alleged experience to have like stolen valor, for herself. Like, my poor mom. Okay, it's not you. It's allegedly your mom. And we all know what you're doing. You're trying to cast yourself with the basking of the Me Too, glow of comfort and sorrow and support from your fellow women and others who are here. And you're a glommer. You're a faker. You've undermined any Me Too claims that are out there because people are more skeptical of them when they have liars like you.
When Blake Lively filed her lawsuit against Justin Baldoni, she was convinced that the entire world would immediately take her side. But something shocking happened this time. Many people started looking at the evidence and realized that Baldoni was the one telling the actual truth here. Now, sure, Blake managed to get a few friends to stand Music with her. You've got Amber Tamblyn, America Ferrera, and her own sister, Robin Lively. These are people who were probably pressured or who had their own reasons for supporting her, but most of her industry friends stayed Music quiet because they knew something was wrong. They could see through the false PR games. They weren't going to stick Music their necks out for someone who was obviously lying. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni received strong support from people who could see exactly what was happening. Even more interesting was that some celebrities started interacting with anti-Blake content, like Jamila Jamil, for example. She commented NBC SNL under Michael Pavano's viral Music skit about Blake Lively's deposition. On the other hand, Jenny Slate gave a statement supporting Blake Music, but anyone who read it could tell it felt forced. But on the other side, actress Kate Beckinsale spoke up about her own experiences with serious mistreatment on movie sets.
Actually, what happened was I was gaslit and made to feel like I was the problem, blamed and ostracized. This is not an archaic problem that no one's facing. This is continuing.
When Judge Lewis, Music, ultimately dismissed these 10 allegations and cleared Justin Baldoni of SH, Blake Lively knew she had lost major time. Music, but here's the thing about arrogant people. When they lose, they never take responsibility for what they've done. Instead, they double down even harder on their claims because admitting the truth would mean admitting they're human. Music, and individuals like Blake Lively don't believe they're human. The actress went on Instagram and posted a completely delusional statement telling her followers she was grateful, Music, that the remaining 3 minor allegations about contract disputes were proceeding to trial. But here's the thing. She completely ignored the fact that the most serious allegations against Baldoni were dismissed in the trash by a federal judge because they lacked any evidence. In her bizarre post, she actually urged her followers not to be distracted by what she called a digital soap opera. Music, she wrote to her millions of followers, and I'm quoting here, "The physical pain from digital violence is very real. It is abuse, and it's everywhere." This statement was basically the ultimate proof of everything Megyn Kelly had been saying. Think about the actual reality of the situation for a second. Blake Lively, Music, is a wealthy actress. She used a fraudulent shady entity to unlawfully subpoena minor online creators. She used her husband's influence to rewrite scripts and control people around. She orchestrated a PR campaign to damage Justin Baldoni's public image. And yet, after doing all of that, she still had the audacity to claim that she was the one facing backlash, Music, just because the fans had finally figured out her lies. It's absolutely insane. Music, but in her mind, that's just how the world works.
What's underneath the headlines and all of the feminist outrage is even better. And obviously, we knew that this would happen, but Blake and her team are actively pivoting their stories, hoping that we forget the real reason why she sued him in.
Blake Lively made a major misjudgment in her expectations. She believed that because she is a major star with significant resources and access to experienced crisis management teams, she could fully shape the narrative around the situation. However, she did not account for independent voices and journalists who were willing to question the competing accounts. James Batuska, a reporter working for the Daily Mail, was initially viewed as receiving information that seemed favorable to Blake Lively's side, including messages allegedly linked to her PR representative, Leslie Sloan. Over time, however, questions arose about how the information was being framed and shared in the media. Based on his own account, Batuska came to think that some elements of the reporting process were influenced in ways that raised ethical issues, and he decided to speak publicly about inconsistencies he observed in the reporting environment surrounding the case here. He further stated that certain allegations he was later informed regarding it were not part of his earlier understanding of the situation. After this, there were internal repercussions at his workplace, and he was no longer part of the publication. The situation underscored wider tensions between media access, public relations strategies, and journalistic independence, and it added to continued debate and scrutiny from different sides of the public discussion.